They thought I couldn't be a really serious actress if I was modeling, so I spent a lot of time trying to prove that I could be, and it doesn't seem like it.
These girls are glamorous, mysterious, and unforgettable. Bond girls have left an indelible mark on cinema history, but not all have lived up to the legend. From iconic pioneers to forgettable missteps, their rankings might surprise even the most devoted Bond fans. Ever wondered who stands as the ultimate Bond girl? Prepare for revelations that challenge your perceptions. Whether it's the bold and commanding Pussy Galore or the enigmatic Solitaire, the list dives deep into what makes a Bond girl iconic or why they missed the mark entirely. 10. Plenty O'Toole, Lana Wood. Diamonds are forever. Well, to be fair, there was everything set up for Plenty O'Toole to have a moment, but she missed her mark. With femininity and sparkling personalities played by Lana Wood, Plenty affirms diamonds are forever with a new and provocative appeal for it. She's self-assured, pretty, and knows her way in and out of a bar. Nevertheless, apart from her lovely grin and sexual allure, she is a shallow and uninteresting woman. The biggest and most memorable trait of Plenty, however, is her gold-digging attitude, which is fitting to the film's style but somewhat naive, even for a Bond movie. Her fling with 007 is much less sexual than she is just a plot device, and you do end up feeling like the writers missed the boat on what they could do with her character. In one scene, she is shown thrown out of a hotel window into a pool in what seems to be a comic scene rather than a dramatic one. The essence of her acting talents was, however, questionable, given that had she been accorded a more prominent role in the film. And then she is fired, thrown out of the show in what many considered a very inconvenient and awkward way. An actress like Plenty had the glitz and glamour and charm to be a memorable Bond girl, but instead she languishes in one of the lesser Bond films. Nevertheless, there are aspects of her name, Plenty O'Toole, that just make her stick in the minds of Bond enthusiasts. Maybe it is because of the scale and presumptuousness of the piece, or just because she appears for a few minutes on camera. In either case, though Plenty won't make many people's list of the most covetable Bond girls, her attractiveness is undeniable. Now, let's shift gears and talk about a Bond girl who completely turned the tables on 007 with her deadly charm. 9. Domino Petacci, Claudine Auger, Thunderball. Petacci is one of those Bond girls that left the viewers with complaints of an untapped potential. Having all components of a great character, beauty, mystery, and a personal background story, Domino, portrayed by the stunning Claudine Auger in Thunderball was everything sexual objectification promised her to be. However, she can come up the occasional performance of a lifetime, and while this is pleasing, her true potential is somewhat realized. Domino's backstory is tragic. She is a mistress of a bad guy in the given film Emilio Largo, and found herself in the circle of vice and bad trickery. This consideration of her character makes her interesting, in the course of which she learns other facts about Largo's vicious nature. Still, for the majority of the film, she is played as a passive object more often than she is a subject, which makes her character less interesting compared with some of the other Bond girls. It also shows one of the most memorable moments in a film about Domino in which the hero learned that it was Largo who killed her brother. At that point, she turns from the figure of victim to that of a hero who is in search of revenge. Her act of killing Largo with a harpoon is good to her character because it turns out she is not just a helpless woman. Nevertheless, Domino appears on screen for far too brief a period, and her relationship with Bond does not seem to sizzle like some of the best Bond's girls. Claudine Auger plays her role in a low-key manner, suitable in a manner of ways, but might fail to evoke quite the popular feel of the series with flamboyant characters. Faded is not the exact word to describe Domino, but she is not exactly unforgettable either. She is a Bond girl. She has all the necessary attributes to make her stand out, but she is just in between, in the ranking. Next up, let's dive into a Bond girl who combines strength, skill, and a touch of sophistication to truly hold her own alongside 007. 8. Holly Goodhead, Lois Chiles, Moonraker. Holly Goodhead was a Bond girl with a name as memorable as her role, but does she live up to the hype? Played by Lois Chiles in Moonraker*, Holly stands out from the crowd with her professional credentials. She's a NASA scientist and undercover CIA agent, making her one of the few Bond girls to match 007 in terms of skill and intellect. Holly's character had the potential to be groundbreaking. A strong, independent woman working in a male-dominated field in the late 1970s? That was a big deal. She is a problem-solving character, quite smart, and can stand her ground if it comes to the worst. This makes her a better shoe-in over some of her dark-skinned predecessors' portrayal. However, she is often overlooked by the movie's antics of space travel and laser fights, and a megalomaniac villain seeking to recreate the Aryan race. Despite her not being overly flirtatious with Bond, there are some fun quirks to be seen and argued in her characterization. There's some hint at chemistry, sexiness, even humor. Her adeptness in handling action sequences, especially the scenes where they portray fights in space, bears her as an equally capable ally. However, she still seems like a one-dimensional character in certain scenes, so people cannot help but imagine what richer material she could have provided if her story was more realistic. Holly Goodhead was a step in the right direction, but she didn't quite hit the bullseye. Now let's talk about a Bond girl who redefined strength and loyalty. 7. Mayday, Grace Jones, A View to a Kill. Mayday is not traditional beauties or an ordinary Bond girl, that's why she is so special. Grace Jones seals off the movie A View to a Kill in a way that cannot be rivaled. See her act like a pressurized, relentless killer for the wicked Max Zorin. Everything about Mayday, her clothes, her willingness to show skin, her pure muscle, is beautiful and horrifying. Initially, she is completely loyal to Zorin, but as events in the story go, there are bids in her faithfulness. The culmination of her character is one of the film's best scenes. She gets one step ahead of Zorin. When the latter betrays her, she doesn't step down, she fights back. The fact she dies in an attempt to assist Bond from stopping Zorin's disastrous scheme further enriches her character. Her backstory of redemption transforming her into what might have otherwise been a straightforward antagonist. It is also important to address Mayday's bond with Bond. It certainly isn't based on any sort of romantic attraction or charm that is given and received, and this is an unusually wholesome aspect not really found in most Bond films. Considering the token lesbian warrior stereotype of Mayday played by Grace Jones, she gives her character one of the most distinctive personas in the Bond lore. While Mayday leaves a powerful legacy, she sets the stage for another Bond girl who combines mystery and allure. Let's dive into the world of Solitaire. 6. Solitaire, Jane Seymour, Live and Let Die. Solitaire is one of the most mysterious and magical Bond girls that the franchise ever produced. Appearing in Live and Let Die Jane Seymour embodies sophistication and enigma, which are not common features of Bond heroines inclined to fighting. Thus, Solitaire, as a voodoo priestess who sees the future, becomes the essential part of the film's plot, despite having little to do with actual supernatural powers. This is the most complicated aspect of her character regarding Bond. First, she serves Dr. Kananga, the evil head of the plantation who controls her just as his accomplices control the other black women. However, as soon as Bond appears in her life, she slowly starts to gain her independence. Although the audience is immediately given pause by the fact that she now so desperately requires Bond's presence in her life. I also wonder how central to her character she is reduced to being one of the accessible Bond girls, from the mysterious priestess she was introduced as. However, Solitaire has a very interesting role in the film somehow. For anyone who enjoyed Jane Seymour's acting, she also looks fragile, stereotyped, yet vigilant and full-bodied at the same time. The subject and direction, her costumes, and the settings were all part of the supernatural undertones of her role that make her one of the more visually memorable Bond girls. While Solitaire's story leaves you wanting more depth, her unforgettable aura paves the way for a truly groundbreaking Bond girl, Pussy Galore. 5. Pussy Galore, Honor Blackman, Goldfinger. Among many Bond girls, none of them are as memorable as Pussy Galore. Blackman modified the representation of a Bond girl from a helpless escalator model extra to a definitive and strong-willed character in Goldfinger*. Petronella Pussy Galore is unveiled as the strong-willed woman, and from her first scene warns viewers that she cannot be won over by 007's charm until her subsequent change of heart. Pussy Galore is another powerful character in the Bond series. She is the leader of all female pilots and noteworthy Bond's antagonist ally, Goldfinger. Feature: her flying skills and her fighting prowess against Bond make her one of most interesting characters in the series. The famous scene of performance rape of the character known as Bond is stunning and hot, and suddenly raising taboo issues of consent and free will for her storyline. What really ties it all together for Pussy Galore, however, is Honor Blackman. Her beauty and an ability to act provokingly intelligent and attractive place her among legends of Bond girls. She is not just an assistant or girlfriend, she is scary on her own, and that makes her stand up to both Bond and the film's narrative. Pussy Galore changed the type of the Bond girl and became an inspiration for women as independent and strong. But there's still more to discuss as we move into the realm of a Bond girl who embodies grace and tragedy, Tracy Bond. 4. Tracy Bond, Diana Rigg, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Tracy Bond is undoubtedly one of the most ill-defined and thorough characters and enjoyable Bond girls in the whole franchise. In On Her Majesty's Secret Service portrayed by Diana Rigg, Tracy is more than just a Bond girl. She has a personality, even problems, and an arc of her own. As soon as Bond gets acquainted with Tracy, an ordinary sexual object for a male heterosexual sharing her beauty and sweetness, she is not an ordinary woman with an individual will. She is an empowered female character who has issues with her family and is deeply complicated due to her past. Nakedness is not the issue here. What is amazing is that for the first time we are shown that there is a gentle, warm kind of side to Tracy, which only Bond gets to see. This process is gradual and involves fluctuations between positive and negative feelings, although the main driving factor is the fact that Bond is ready to transform for Camilla. When Bond proposes, it is not some sort of a flirtation or some simple romance. It is the real thing. Unfortunately, due to the tragic death of Tracy in the final shot in this motion picture, the latter has transformed the mentioned character into one of the most memorable Bond girls. Her death defines the final tragedy of Bond's personal life, and the character is changed for that experience from now on. Trenee's death makes her a memorable and sad figure in the series because she is the only Bond girl who became Mrs. James Bond. She brings all that depth and emotions which paved the way for a tremendous transformation of how the Bond girls are to be presented. But before we move on to another strong and dynamic character, let's revisit another Bond girl whose allure and mystery captured everyone's attention, Honey Rider. 3. Honey Rider, Ursula Andress. Dr. No Bond girl list would be complete without the legendary Honey Rider. Played by Ursula Andress, Dr. No. Honey is the quintessential Bond girl. Her iconic introduction, emerging from the Caribbean waters in a white bikini, is one of the most memorable moments in cinematic history. However, unlike many beauties, Honey has a more important characteristic. She is an embodiment of the spirit of the adventurous and free woman whom it is now traditionally pleasant to attract as a partner, a Bond girl. Honey is one of the character's strengths, being a resourceful woman who is very determined to find her lost father. The attachment with Bond foreshadows. Far from a helpless, fragile woman, she finds herself in a dangerous story, while still being capable of helping Bond and even being useful in some ways. What is more praiseworthy is the fact that she is not simply the woman who is involved with Bond. She has a life and a goal outside/beyond him, and even after encountering him, she actively participates in the mission. While Andress does not sexualize Honey Rider because she is clean and does not attempt to be overtly provocative, she brings the aspect of childlike thrill in being daring to the role. I will name her one of the first Bond girls, but her impact is evident in setting the pace for most of the following Bond girls. Honey Rider is truly the first archetypical Bond girl. She is beautiful, courageous, and resourceful. Her contribution made it easier for future Bond girls to be strong yet sexy, and for this Burt holds her near the top. Now let's take a closer look at the enigmatic, bold, and unforgettable character of Anya Amasova. 2. Anya Amasova, Barbara Bach, the spy who loved me. Anya Amasova, also known as Agent XX, is a Bond girl who redefined what it meant to stand shoulder to shoulder with 007. Played by the stunning Barbara Bach and Spy Who Loved Me, Anya is no mere sidekick. She's a formidable KGB agent who matches Bond in skill, intelligence, and confidence. From their very first meeting, it's clear that Anya is Bond's equal. She's cunning, resourceful, and has no problem taking the lead when the situation demands it. Their partnership is one of equals, where mutual respect and a bit of competitive tension drive the dynamic. What makes Anya truly stand out is how she brings her own motivations and agency into the story. She's not just there to assist Bond. Her mission is as personal as it is professional. The tension between Anya and Bond reaches its peak when she discovers Bond killed her lover during a previous mission. Instead of being reduced to a romantic subplot, this revelation deepens their relationship, showcasing Anya's complexity and emotional depth. In the end, while her professionalism wins out, her journey is far from the typical Bond girl arc. Barbara Bach's performance radiates intelligence and sophistication, making Anya Amasova one of the most iconic and respected Bond girls in the franchise. But as groundbreaking as she was, there's one Bond girl who remains in a league of her own, Vesper. 1. Vesper, Eva Green, Casino Royale. At the very top of the list is Vesper, a Bond girl who changed everything. Played masterfully by Eva Green in Casino Royale, Vesper is not just a love interest. She's the emotional and narrative heart of the film. Her story makes intrigue, betrayal, and heartbreak, and remains forever in both Bond and the viewer's memory. Straight from the horse's mouth, Vesper brings out the uniqueness of the entire story. She's intelligent, caustic, and more than capable of standing up for herself and even calling the great 007 out, so the chemistry between them feels new and exciting. Another reason is that Vesper, unlike so many women that precede her from the Bond movies, does not kneel before James's flirting or self-confident attitude and even dares reprimand him. Another was sexual tension, where their banter engages some of the film's memorable scenes of her intelligence. What makes Vesper stand out from other female characters in the novel, though, is her character's emotional compass. She is not just a powerful woman, full of strength, and able to handle situations. She is a weak and uncertain woman who loves her friends and has a conflict of interest with a growing affection for Bond. It is to the precise degree that she is heartless that her betrayal is most tragically heartbreaking, because all of a sudden she is not a fairy princess, but a woman. That is why she remains the best Bond girl of all time due to this complexity. The effect of Vesper's character is felt throughout the entire motion picture Bond series. This love interest forms the basis of a love and betrayal which define Bond while putting an otherwise indestructible figure at his weakest. The most commendable of all is Eva Green, for she effectively and convincingly portrays the character that may well turn to a stereotype at any single given moment. Vesper Lynd isn't just a Bond girl, she's the Bond girl. Her legacy is unmatched, making her the clear choice for the top spot on this list. And there you have it, the ultimate ranking of Bond girls, from the missed opportunities to the unforgettable legends. These characters have shaped the Bond franchise in ways that go far beyond their stunning looks, leaving behind a legacy of strength, wit, and complexity. Who's your favorite Bond girl? Do you agree with our ranking, or is there someone you think should take the top spot? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema.